Yeah, that makes sense.
I get you, I think it's an HDMI extension.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. First meeting.
Have to tell Beth, I don't know what you're doing.
Favorite thing. Very sitting on the left of this kind of. Okay. Stay tuned.
Six o'clock, let's name another, please stand and pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Call please.
Mayor Neilbauer,
Here.
Councilman Fitch. Here. Bauer.
Here. All right, and with that, we will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make that motion. Motion by Bauer, do we have a second? Second by Edvig, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. We will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Edvig, do we have a second? Second. Second by Bauer, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a meeting open to the public. Do we have it
We do not.
at this time? And then we will move on to new business, which is our school referendum. Mr. Carson.
Well, thank you for letting me join you tonight. I'll keep it short and sweet and focus on the most important items. And then if you so choose, I can certainly answer any questions that may arise. I'll let you decide that. As you may know, the school district is pursuing a 2-question referendum this November 7th to fund operations of the school district. So I'll go over each one of those questions, the reasons why the request is being made to the public, and answer some other or provide some other information. First of all, as I mentioned, we have 2 questions. The first question is to ask voters to consider approving a 10-year, $325 per pupil referendum. That would generate about $1.5 million per year for the school district. In the sheet that's in the board packet, it would cover the first 5 bullets that are listed under the plan. And I'll highlight 2 of them real quick. First of all, we would like to grow our vocational education program that's focused on high demand skilled trades. First of all, we greatly value that kind of work. We know that the school district and the surrounding area needs that work, and students are able to find high demand jobs with really strong wages. So we think that's an important thing to pursue. The second part that I'd like to highlight is that we'd like to expand what's called in education community STEAM, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So that's a really important thing for us, K-12. And I'm a former math teacher, so I'm naturally inclined to support that. But again, we really value hands-on learning experience for our kids. And so by expanding the STEAM offerings, we believe we can do that. The second question is a request of voters to consider an $880,000 per year capital projects levy. We've decided that if that passes, we will dedicate the entire amount towards technology, focused on student learning, or technology used for student learning. So that would be replacing our student computers, using Promethean boards like what you see here tonight, because those are in classrooms and at some point we'll need to replace them, as well as technology personnel. Those are all important things for enhancing our student learning. Another important factor is the tax impact. If question 1 passes, the owner of a $375,000 home would pay an extra $9 per month. If the second question also passes, then it would be an additional $5 over that. So if both questions pass, the tax impact to the owner of a $375,000 home would increase by $14 per month. We chose the $375,000 home because that's the median price of a home in the school district. So we thought that was a good way to present the information. On the school's website dedicated to the referendum, there is a tax calculator. And so you can go to sfstrongfuture.org. It's in the brochure here. Go to the cost tab, and at the very bottom, it's called the tax calculator. You can put in any address in the district or the price of the home, and it will generate the estimated tax impact. We want to be as transparent as possible with you, with community members, with voters, so they know, this is how much it would cost, and this is what would be provided if it passes. The backside talks about some of the financial challenges or reasons why we're looking for extra support from local taxpayers. All this information is on the website, so I won't go into great detail except to highlight that, compared to other local districts in the area and across the state, we are receiving less money per pupil. And that impacts what we can provide our kids. It impacts the kinds of wages we can provide our hourly employees, because we're competing with Anoka Hennepin and Elk River for those hourly employees and teachers. And so we want to close the gap a little bit to be competitive. Right now, we have 50 unfilled positions in the district. That's 50 positions. And teachers, the custodians, the drivers, you name it, we're a little bit short, and so we want to close that gap. There's also information about how to vote on the website. People can vote early starting on September 22nd by going to the Anoka County Elections Office because they're running the vote for us. Or of course, you can vote in person on election day on November 7th. So regardless of how you're going to vote, please vote. Make a special concerted effort to vote early or come out on election day. It's really important for everyone's voice to be heard. That's a nutshell report for the referendum. I'm not sure if it's okay to ask questions from the council or from community members, but I'm certainly available now or anytime after.
Thank you. I would just ask to start, I guess, so the voting is in this building, right? And
Yeah, we have 3 combined polling places.
okay.
So one of them is in this building, and so I'm not exactly sure where the boundaries for the city of St. Francis would be, but all that information is on the website, so you can look for where you typically vote, by the precinct, and then we've combined into 3 polling places.
And then you mentioned less per pupil. I was just curious if you could shed some light on that. That interests me too. Why do we get less as opposed to other areas?
Yeah, and it's largely because we do not have an operating levy currently. 70% of the schools in Minnesota have operating levies that have been approved by voters, and then that money goes towards the general operations of the school district. We are one of the districts out of the 30% that does not have an operating levy referendum. So the chart at the backside of this sheet shows that North Branch and Princeton are also at 0, but the other 7 districts on this sheet, including Elk River, Hennepin, Becker, Forest Lake, Cambridge, Asani, Monticello, Chisago Lakes, all have operating levy referendum. Compared to the state average, well, the state average of those districts with an operating levy, their average is $1,347 per people. We're at 0. And you can see that even if we pass the first question of the referendum, we'll still be in the lower half of districts in the area. We wanted to present something that we thought was reasonable, that the voters might consider, depending on the benefits that they would receive.
Thank you. Sarah, any more?
I have not any questions. Thank you for coming, presenting this. I have talked to a couple of the school board members already. I know it's always a hard thing to ask for money, but I'm a huge advocate for our schools, and I think it's time to do some other schools.
This is pretty typical of St. Francis area schools. They did a bond a few years ago. They do it on an off year so that voters don't turn out. So this is not a surprise to me as well. So I would like to see on the high school Rolodex that there's a referendum, because transparency is everything. And if I don't see it, then I can say, hey, you know what, the school's trying to hide this election. They're gonna call people that want it. But a lot of things are that our residents want our schools to spend the money that we already give and spend it wisely. The school board hasn't really done that well. And you can ask many residents, you're new here, so I'm gonna be the naysayer,
Sure.
as I am in many things. It's going to be hard to pass. But through transparency, let's do it during election years. And then really put the foot forward and say, this is what we're gonna do for our schools. That's how you get voter turnout. Doing it on an off year where there's absolutely no elections going on, you're not gonna have the turnout. You're going to basically feed all the people, the residents that want it. And more don't. They want you to spend the money we already provide. So if I don't see it on the Rolodex, blow up Facebook that the school's not trying to be transparent. So throw it out there and let the voters decide. So that's my 2 pennies.
And I actually appreciate that comment and that suggestion. Transparency is incredibly important. And we want to get the information out to as many people as possible. And then let the voters decide, if they think the extra increase in taxes is worth it, the investment we're making. So one of my objectives or one of my goals or responsibilities is to get information out to everyone possible. And so that's why I think it's really good that you were able to let me be here tonight. I'm also open to going to any group within the school district. And it doesn't have to vote yes, no, vote yes or vote no people. I'll share the information and be as forthright as possible because we want that message out. Yeah, no doubt about it. And we're doing it in several ways, including the website. And so we encourage everyone in the community to go to that website to see the plan and the tax impact. We're encouraging it, like I'll go to any groups. I want to go to the city council meetings to share information. Is this videotape tonight? Yeah. Perfect. That's the best way I think that we can reach community members who are not parents in the school district.
I think you make a good point too, Rob. It's more of perception as reality. That's something that we deal with too here at the city level and at any local government level. Thank you. You get, which we did the same thing with the guys with the water plant too, is I wasn't paying attention as much. I know that for me, that was my own accountability that, till I got the thing in the mail saying they're gonna charge us a whole bunch. And then we got involved and you know, we get accused of not being as transparent, which I'm sure there's things we could do better, just like anybody could. But I think too, you know, coming forward and then talking about it, be willing to go to anywhere, is good. I would encourage you to, reach out to Overall and stuff as well. I know their mayor is pretty receptive to things. I've had a few conversations with them, so I would encourage that.
Oak Grove, I live in East Bethel, obviously East Bethel will be one of them, the city of Bethel. And I'll go to small groups, large groups, it doesn't matter. And regardless of what happens in November, I kind of like the interaction. In case you don't know, I had a heart attack last October, and so I was out for 6 weeks. And of course, it takes time to recover from that or catch up. And so this is my chance to re-engage with the community, and this is one of the steps towards that.
Well, we appreciate your time. I guess do we have anything from anybody in the audience, the two people that are here? For any questions for him, would you like to ask them? No?
No.
No? All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. And with that, we'll move on to item B, Serenity at Silly Brook preliminary plat, the lot with.
Working. Good evening. I am Rita Trapp. I am a colleague of Beth Richmond, who is on vacation this week, so that's why I'm here. So the request before you this evening is for a preliminary plat, as well as a variance for a lot width. Hopefully this project is familiar to you, my understanding from the information from Beth. You've seen this before, and there was a discussion about a re-guiding of the property from agricultural to rural residential. So this is something you have seen. The existing conditions, the site is approximately 23 acres. It is undeveloped and it's outside of your urban service area. The frontage is on County Road 71. And Sealy Brook abuts the northern property line and does have a lot of wetlands. About a third of the site is wetlands, and those wetlands do make it challenging related to how you can configure a subdivision. As I said, it was re-guided and rezoned to rural residential in May, so we've seen this before. The applicant is requesting a 4 residential lot subdivision. The lots range in size from 4.2 to 7.4 acres. The buildable acres are actually 1.25 to 4.11, which again reflects the wetlands that do impact the site. And then it is consistent with the rural residential density requirements in your comprehensive plan. So there aren't any issues with regards to the density proposed. Relative to the lot width variance, this graphic does a pretty good job of showing where the boundaries are. One element in designing the subdivision is that wetland does extend from the brook all the way to County Road 71, and that really impacts how you would design the subdivision. The applicant is requesting the ability to use that as a dividing line between 2 lots, which does make sense because otherwise one of the lots would end up with usable, in essence, usable space across a wetland, which isn't really usable for them if they can't access it. So lots 2 and 3 are not quite as wide as required. They are not 300 feet in width, and they are slightly undersized for that, as you can see in the chart in the upper right, about 275 feet instead of 300 feet. But again, that wetland provides really a logical division between 3 and 4, which is why it's being proposed and why a variance is being requested. Technically, there is enough frontage for 5 lots because there's actually 1,500 feet of frontage. So just to have that in perspective as well. But that's what is being proposed is just the 4 lots, as you can see. Access wise, each lot is proposed to have an individual driveway on the county road. You can see the white dashed lines on the description that shows where those are. In the packet was a letter from Anoka County, which talks about how they are satisfied with the proposed driveway location. And then there's a condition that is included about requiring the right of way to be cleared of any instructions related to any construction. Otherwise, this is fairly standard and typical from Anoka County. The Planning Commission did review this request at their August 16th meeting. There was no public comment received, and they unanimously recommended approval of the variance and preliminary plat request. Staff is also supportive of this request, and as you know, has been working with this applicant for a while. So before you this evening are 2 resolutions. One to approve the variance to allow the reduced lot widths for lots 2 and 3, and the other is to actually approve the preliminary plat. The review deadline is in October. So we have the suggested motions. I can answer any questions. I do have extra information that Beth provided me, if there are, and I'm sure Colette can help me as well with any questions. So with that,
Questions, Rob?
We'll go back to the map.
do you like this map or a flat?
The next one where it kind of shows what's going on from the green to the Sealy Brook.
This is just an overlay to help us see where the driveway is, so it's like we took a diagram and laid it over the area. So actually, if we go here, these are the lot lines. So what you were seeing was someone was just showing where the access was, and they took like a thing and superimposed it, so that's where there was the different color differences.
And my one concern was, as at the beginning, was making all 4 lots at least 5 acres so that the guy with 4.2 isn't going to come and ask for a variance because they don't meet the 5 acre requirements for horses and things of that nature that you can do on the outside. So I don't know if that wetlands is actually added in there, or is it just considered usable land? And
That's
it's
part of the lot.
So, go ahead. Yeah, no, definitely.
So that was something that I know we discussed heavily with the applicant. And basically it just is that the way that the site is designed, that became too complicated to try and get the 5 acres within. And since with the wetland where it is, basically, so the lot 4, I believe is the largest lot is the 7 acre lot. And just being able to get any of the acreage from that lot 4 to any of the other acres or any of the other lots wasn't possible. And this property was rezoned to rural residential earlier this summer. And so the minimum lot size for a rural residential lot is 2.5 acres. So they do meet the zoning standards for what is there as well.
That was it. Other than that, I like it. Put stuff together for 2 and 3. There's one driveway road, especially on that little bit of the straightaway there, but that was my biggest concern, was trying to get that 5 acre. Green acreage, oh, it's 5, no, I got 4.5. So. That's it.
Sarah?
I don't have any questions. I think the lot size of them took a lot of work to get us to where we are, and I think this is the best proposal that we've seen.
Yeah, I would just add, appreciate the flag order. I think it satisfies just about everybody that. Really nothing to complain about at this point. They have their less amount of lots there where we were possibly had 8 at one point, we're down to 4, which is good. Connie doesn't seem to have an issue with it, so that's good with me, and I can't believe we have any other reason to go against it, so. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-47, approving variance to allow reduced lot list for lots 2 and 3 for the Serenity and Sealy Brook development with conditions of findings presented by staff. Motion by Councilmember Edvig. Do we have a second? I'll second. Second by Councilmember Bauer. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And we will also entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-48, approve the preliminary plat for this the Serenity and Sealy Brook development with conditions and findings as presented by staff. We have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Bauer. Do we have a second? Second by Edvig. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to item C, the Hall Fire Station contract.
Mayor and council, before you tonight is a change order for our new facility that is reflective on the contract itself. One of our cost saving measures on this project was to do
this project using a tax exempt status as a municipality. With that, there are some pieces with the contract that we need to separate the labor and the materials, so this project was bid out. With that separation built in, this is getting the contract now to reflect what the bids were. And what this step will do is it will separate the material and the labor. It will allow us to do all of the materials that tax exempt. And a rough early estimates was that was a savings of about $300,000. So we will be billed by 2 separate paths with this as well. So we will, every sub will submit to Stahl 2 invoices, 1 material, 1 labor. Stahl will submit to us 1 material, 1 labor. So this kind of sets that whole path forward to make that savings a reality. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions there?
I don't have any questions. I think it's a great plan, cost saving, probably the bonus, and if it works, then I say it's great. I think we can move forward.
Rob?
No questions for tax.
No, I would just say from a housekeeping, everything cooked up, so not any questions either. With that, do you need, will we just accept the change order?
Mr. Mayor, the appropriate action would be motion and second approval of the contract change order authorizing city staff to execute all related documents related to the approval, subject to city attorney approval as defined.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Bauer, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Edvig, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, we have our second meeting open to the public. Do we have any? No. All right, and now we will move on to councilmember reports. There's Rob.
I don't have anything to report.
There.
On Tuesday, August 22nd, I had attended the EDA meeting. On Wednesday the 23rd, they looked at the farmers market. And then on the 24th, I had the special meeting. Yeah, it's been a pretty big one.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. I've been pretty busy as well, to do the special meeting, and the EDA meeting as well. Tomorrow I will have the fire department meeting in Bethel, at 3:30. That is my report, and I guess with that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
That motion?
Motion by Councilman Rudnick, do we have a second? Second by Fowler, in favor? Aye. Motion carries.